Good evening. I'm Lauren Selden, and I'm going to talk about filing tonight. So, I've been working on this piece that is a little cutout of my daughter's foot, and so I wanted to show you kind of quickly. I do this really kind of weird edge here that is meant to almost look like it's like been plasma cut, or it's been cut by kind of like a crazy tool, so you can kind of see my edge there. And so I was just going to show quickly, I'm doing this with the saw, and it's just something that's my own style, but I thought that I could show you because it might be something that you're interested in doing with sawing as well. So I just basically just saw and kind of wiggle as I go. You can see I'm just making kind of jagged marks back and forth and back and forth, and this is going to make that mark that I like. So I would just keep going with that on the edge. So for this particular piece, that's actually what I'm going to do to the edges. They're going to be kind of jagged and crazy like that. So hopefully you can see that from both angles. So this edge is done and this edge is done, and so I have two more to go. But I enjoy that edge, and I've done that on some other material too. And so whenever I have this with some metal behind it, that edge will continue on the other side too. So it's just a personal style, but I thought maybe you would be interested in seeing how I address the edge. So we need to talk about filing, and filing is really important. It's for shaping the metal and for cleaning up the metal. And so the first thing I want to show is a couple of different types of file. So the first file that I like to use a lot of times is called, it's just a standard file that you can get from Lowe's or a hardware store. And this particular file is called a crosscut file. And a crosscut file means that we have lines that are going like that. So crosscut like that. So then the other side, which is why I like this particular file, is called a single cut file. And so I like that they're sold on the same file. So single cut means that the lines are just going one direction. So single cut file and a cross cut file. So I generally have at least one or two different sizes, different thicknesses of that file from the hardware store, and I use those for most of the things that I do. Another file that we're going to use in here all the time is called the half round jeweler's file. And so you can see it here. It's half round because you can see that the profile is round, okay? And so you can see it here, half round on this side and then flat on this side. This is a number 2 German half round jeweler's file, and it's a number 2 cut, which means that it's still really fine. So you can barely even see the teeth in here. And so this is going to cut through the metal, and then eventually metal is going to kind of clog up a little bit. And so I often have on hand a file cleaner or a file brush. And so I would use my file brush to just clean my file every once in a while so that I can use it effectively. So that's a file brush. Half round jeweler's file. We'll use that a lot. So there's German and Swiss ones. The German and Swiss ones have different numbers. We're generally using the German ones, and this is a number 2 file. I also have a number 4, which the teeth are so small, and that whenever it cuts the metal, it almost looks like it's been sanded. So it's really fine. The negative of a number 4 is that metal gets clogged up in it, and so you end up having to use the file card a lot. So other specialty things that we have, so you guys would have gotten a packet of so little files like this. This is actually the mini files, and you guys have the regular size files. And then I have some that are even bigger, and so they look like this. And the reason why I like these is that there is a cutting edge on there that is like 6 inches instead of 4 inches cutting edge. So these are some of my favorite. Now, all of these come in different shapes. So we have a triangle file, which we'll use a lot of the time, especially when we're scoring and filing later. This one is one of my favorites. It's called a safe edge file. And what it means is that this side is completely safe. There's no teeth on it. And this side has the cutting teeth. And so I use that a lot whenever I don't want to accidentally bite into the piece on the other side. And then you can see that I have a really nice round one. And then the tip of this is being covered up right now because these are super, super delicate. So files are really, really brittle because of the way that they're hardened. And files are strong enough that they can rub against each other and dull each other. So that's why you always see them in pouches. Or when I have them on my bench, I have them just laid next to each other on my bench. Or I even have the little rubber things that you use in the kitchen for your plates to keep them from skidding, and I just have my files sitting on there. Some people make like leather pouches or anything like that, and those are really worth doing as well. And then I have this other little specialty one that I love that I was just going to show. That's a half round jeweler's file, but it's really small, so you can see it's like the size of my thumb. But I use this one all the time. So I just wanted to show you just a couple of the steps of filing. This is loud and kind of a horrible sound, but I'm just gonna flip my half round into my piece, and you can see that I'm keeping the file as parallel as I possibly can. And a file works on the push only, and so you don't go back and forth because that would dull your file. Every once in a while, if I need the flat side, I can flip it over, use the flat side, and then I use the round side a lot so that I don't bite into the piece. So this will take a while, but I will go across this entire surface with the file. That's gonna make my edges look really beautiful. And then I would go and I would sand all of these things, and I'll talk about those in another video. So the basics of it: works on the push. Make sure that you store them in ways that they're not rubbing up against each other. So if they're ever in a drawer, you have like little folders that, or little pouches that hold them. They're extremely brittle, so you never use, even though this tip looks really helpful, you never use it to pry anything. You know, get out a screwdriver or something like that. They're extremely brittle and really breakable. But pretty great tools. So you can use those files for forming edges. So here I've been cutting the edge, but I could easily take a triangle file and kind of make cool triangle shapes on the edges. There's just a ton of things that you can do. So that's files. I'll talk to you later.